Well, now we've made it to the fourth I, information. A careful study of congressional hearings found that when confronted with an issue, congressmen typically ask three questions. First, why is this issue important? Then, what can be done about it? And third, will this policy work? Often left unexpressed and lurking in the background is another question. How does this issue or policy affect my interest? In other words, who wins, who loses, and how much? Answers to these questions hinge on information. Here are typical answers. This policy issue is important because X. The options to address this issue are Y. The solution will work because Z. And this policy will affect your interest as follows, A through W. The answer is X, Y, Z, and A through W all depend on information. An important kind of information is what social scientists call asymmetric information. The information one person knows that another does not. For example, a lobbyist knows who the key players are in an issue, what their interests are, and how congressional procedures operate. A naive manufacturing firm from the Midwest doesn't know any of this. The lobbyist information advantage creates the opportunity for the lobbyist to charge the firm for advice and help. Conversely, the firm knows or can reasonably estimate what a change in, say, a tax break or IRS rule or environmental regulation or the minimum wage, what effect it would have on its willingness to employ laborers or perhaps even to remain in the United States. Congressmen do not have this information, so the firm's knowledge is asymmetric. The information asymmetry creates the opportunity for the firm to persuade congressmen to keep or expand favorable policies or kill unfavorable ones. Asymmetric information gives rise to lots of strategic action: bluffing, signaling, withholding information without quite lying, evading supervision for control, or laziness and shirking. Asymmetric information can sometimes be a source of power. The mini case on Johnson, the Master of the Senate, demonstrated how he aggregated and centralized procedural information in the Senate and used it to coordinate his party's actions. By helping his party, Johnson helped himself. Closely related to information is another I, ideas. In his landmark study of the politics of regulation, based on extensive fieldwork in multiple agencies, the great political scientist James Q. Wilson noted, "We must be struck at every turn by the importance of ideas. Regulation itself is such an idea. Deregulation is another. The targets of antitrust investigations are selected in large part because of the ideas of lawyers and economists. The value of regulation by command and control, as opposed to regulation by the alteration of market incentives, requires an assessment of two competing ideas. To the extent an agency can choose, its choices will be importantly shaped by what its executives learned in college a decade or two earlier." New ideas can take many forms. A new idea may involve a new policy instrument, like tradable emissions permits. It might concern policymaking procedures, like the White House should establish an office that oversees agency regulation making in order to assure the president's priorities and values are embedded in the regulations. The new idea may involve new methods of administration, for example, performance-based assessment of teachers, congestion pricing of bridges and city streets, or privatizing services. Coming up with new ideas is one of the few places where academics have some influence in policymaking.